Mahsa, thank you so much for joining me today and in talking a little bit about women in STEM and in cybersecurity. As you know, we have a program in a master's degree online in cybersecurity, and you've already been very gracious in giving us your time when you came to visit last year, I believe it was, to share a little bit about your experiences as a woman in this field. And you have once again given of your time with us in chatting with me a little bit about this area and some of the challenges as well as some of the opportunities. So thank you again for that. And if you don't mind kind of just jumping right in with me, could you give a brief introduction of yourself and your background and kind of how you arrived in this field?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shelley, for having me here. It was fantastic. It was almost 2 years ago when I visited San Bonaventure University. It was a great memory. It was a great time, and I really hope to visit it again. So your invitation just brought back so many great memories, and it's an honor to really talking to you and hopefully connect with your students and faculty.
Oh, thank you.
So you want me to introduce myself and my role here in New Zealand? Sure, yes. I'll tell you a little bit about that. So as you introduced me, my name is Mahsa Mohaghegh. I am a Director of Women in Technology at AUT and also a Senior Lecturer at Auckland University of Technology in Auckland, New Zealand. I give you a little bit about my journey and how I ended up doing what I'm doing today. I began my journey in technology in 2000 with the bachelor degree in computer engineering and later master degree. And I think after a year working in industry, I decided to pursue further education, and I began a study in a PhD in computer engineering, but in the field of artificial intelligence and natural language processing. And on completion of my degree, I began a career in academia. So where I'm currently teaching, supervising, researching several different areas of computer science. And I'm also founder and director of non-for-profit women networking and learning group called She-Sharp.
Yes, thank you. I was enjoying looking through the She-Sharp site. I wouldn't want to have to say that too many times. But, could you share a little bit about the organization and its goals?
Sure. She-Sharp, as I mentioned, it's a networking platform for women in technology. The purpose of it is really empowering women in the STEM field. But I founded She-Sharp in 2014 as a small group of about 20 people. And our objective was to, and still today, is to address the gender imbalance in tech and to remove all those virtual barriers and stereotypes. Ideally, we really want to promote equal opportunities for all genders to study tech. We hold about 8 to 10 events every year, usually hosted at ICT companies, and the events help to promote STEM fields to high school girls, helping them to make contact with female role models in industry, because I'm a great believer that you can be who you can see. So this is really important for us. And I never had a role model when I was a study in high school. So this is one of our goals. And we also show students the reality of day-to-day operation in ICT company. What kind of people are really there as opposed to who they might think that, which is the stereotype. But overall, I think we want to encourage young women to consider possible future study options and career paths in tech.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you mentioned, of course, this gender imbalance in tech. Mm-hmm. Could you speak to kind of why that happens and what you think are some of the solutions? I know that's a really big question, but why does it happen and how do we go about fixing it?
I think the main reason for it, it is perception. I think what I can tell you about it is my idea behind that, and how I felt when I was a student. So I was always part of minority. When I did my study in computer engineering, I was one in a class of 50. And when I started lecturing in this field, I noticed in a class of 250 students, I only had 10 girls. And, this is different year to year. One year was 5 students. And I think there are many reasons behind it, but one of the main thing, and I think despite the importance we see today being placed on the diversity and inclusion, particularly in terms of gender equality, there are still some pretty strong stereotypes that do hold girls back from the huge potential. Mm-hmm. Discouragement is usually subconscious, but it can at the times be voiced, even as a humor, that it tends to lead a perception of who should work in technology fields. So even a simple comment by a misinformed parent to their daughter that a job in a computer science is for boys is enough to plant this idea in their head that they are not really good for this field. And also a popular media portrays a stereotypical image in many films that a computer expert in action movies, usually a nerdy, quirky guy with glasses sitting in a dark room with hoodies, and all these stereotypical images end up soaking into mind of our young girls. And they end up with wildly incorrect conceptions around the STEM fields.
Mm-hmm. How about also for women who are currently in the workplace, maybe women who are working in tech or working on sort of the outskirts of tech, because now it feels like everything we do, I was sharing with you before we started the recording that I work in marketing, but so much of what we do now is focused on data and making meaning from data. And so what about some of these peripheral women who are interested in careers in tech? Because the gap is so big that while it's really important, of course, to encourage young women and girls, why do you think this happens with women who are maybe interested, in pursuing degrees in cybersecurity or artificial intelligence and computer engineering, but they're in their job, but they're a little bit nervous to go to the next level? What is some of that environment that you think that keeps them from moving forward?
I think the best thing to do in this case is to make our industry contact in this field, and ideally other women through their networking events, if they can talk to other people that they're thinking about changing a career or jumping in this. It's really important that, and I can't really stress the importance of networking enough here. Finding a mentor is also a must. Someone they can trust, someone who has experience, who has, whose opinion, they value. It's really important. So they can talking to the people that they are actually working in this field. And hearing from them, they can actually see themselves that they can be one of them. And, it is nothing more important than giving them opportunity to try and experience technology for themselves. The way that we are pitching technology today is very different because I think what is really important for women specifically, they really want to be part of the group that trying to make other people's life easier, to solve problems. So I even saw that some of the jobs, ads on internet and newspaper, that they were putting words like, we are looking for a ninja coder. So as a woman, I don't want to be a ninja coder. So I really want to just really help, solving problem. So I think we have to be very careful, mindful of how we approach and how we pitch this field to our women. And I think the best thing for them would be really having that networking opportunity and talking with mentor to find out more about opportunities. And hopefully, so one of the things we really do with SheShop is we're giving them this opportunity to talk to real people. And that was very successful in terms of really changing their mindset about the field. And we started seeing that some of them, even they had the career changes, that they decided to come to the tech. And that was really amazing for us. But what prompted me to start SheShop was an appreciation and understanding of what girls and young women face in this industry. At the moment, I think women who decide to enter the tech sector are immediately in minority. And being part of the minority sometimes is really daunting. And within a field, there are misconceptions, stereotypes, inequalities that women have to deal with every day. And knowing this, I really wanted to start a group, an organization that could provide them with some level of support.
Mm-hmm. How do you think women are uniquely suited to help solve some of these incredible technology challenges that we're facing today?
I think firstly, in an equal population, both women and men are consumers of technology.
Yeah.
And I think that it is at very least reasonable to ensure that the same proportion is presented in technology development space.
Mm.
And I think it's been widely proven that diversity improves business performances, and no one can really ignore the evidence of the benefit that balanced, diverse workplaces they can bring. So they can increase productivity, they can increase efficiency, and they can enhance innovation. And it has been shown that the companies with the gender diverse team constantly they outperform those with the gender imbalance. So much so that some venture capitals, VCs, they even gone as far as to state that they won't invest in any startup unless it has a gender diverse executive team. And I think the key is recognizing the benefits that diversity and inclusion bring into the sector. Mm-hmm. So this is really key to know.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I've seen that a lot myself. It's sad that we have to kind of put these measures in place that make requirements where there shouldn't even be a need for requirements, but to be pursuing that diversity because we should just be doing it, right? Yeah. So I think that's really important.
And I think, of course, employers, they have to choose people with the right skills for the job. But if they don't understand the benefit of diversity, then they can miss out on advantage of that group can bring to their team.
Yeah, and I think that is, in fairness to organizations, that is part of the challenge. I know I have a friend and colleague in Costa Rica who has a website design firm, and she, has had people from the outside come in and say, well, you're a woman who owns a business, a web development firm, in, where are all the women? Why haven't you hired more women? And she said, because I can't. They're simply not available to me. And so, again, that it's more than just, get into this kind of field because it's a great opportunity. There's reasons for it, right? And I think that's a part of what you're getting at. And I also think as women, when you were talking about these unconscious or subconscious things that happen, that discourage people from these fields, and it creates a lack of confidence, that you think you can't enter into something that's so technical, or you won't be taken seriously, or so I think the women have a lot of hesitations that men necessarily wouldn't be thinking through in this field because it just isn't part of their reality. So I'm curious about, I was watching something that you had said about you might be good at something that you never knew you could be good at. And when you were saying, that we need to, you were saying something like, focusing on, it made me think about if you don't have a role model, then you're going to have to create the role model yourself. The importance of being the leader that you wish you had. And that whole concept. And I think that's part of what you're talking about here too, is that women need to, go for it. And then that gets back to your idea of the importance of networking, because the way that we are able to do that, the way we feel empowered, not always, but sometimes, is because, oh, wait, there are other people like me, right, that are doing this. And I think that's so much a part of the force and momentum that you're creating, which is wonderful. Thank you again for participating in that and being a leader in that regard. It's wonderful. And I wonder, could you share a little bit about as you have been a minority in this field, um, there are also things about that that are exceptionally satisfying. And what are some of those things in your mind? And could you speak to those as a way to kind of encourage women who may be a little bit uncertain about if they should enter into this field?
So back to your point, it is really important for me that our next generation, they make an informed decision about who they want to be and what they want to do. And this is my message all the time, that give yourself opportunity to try new things. You never know you're really good at something if you don't really, try it. And I think this is the main point of we as women, we tend to just think we are not good at it. This is not for me. But this is not true. And I saw it when last year we had a workshop with a group of high school students. So we went to school and we had that workshop around designing mobile app, game for mobile app. And the very first question I asked the students that, do you like coding? And the answer was obvious, no. And I said, okay, we're not going to do any coding today, but how about game? Do you like creating game? And some of them yes, and some of them no. And I said, what about music? And I said, yeah, we all love music. And I said, what about we design our own piano today? So we designed the whole workshop for an hour and a half, 2 hours. But after 45 minutes, our girls, they managed to create a piano app game on their phone. And there was nothing more satisfying than, playing a piano using their own phone. And they have something to take back and, show their parents. And at the end of it, I told them, what you've done today was purely coding. And you create your own game. So this is the element that we are really proud of with She Sharp organization, because our events usually has two parts into it. So the first part is hearing from people who are working in this field, usually some of the senior leaders or engineers that they are doing a great work that they do. And they were just telling about, not all about the good things, that they're telling about challenges. Just being part of minority sometimes wasn't good. Sometimes it was actually worked very well for them. So they're sharing this information. And the second part of our events are usually hands-on, practical. So we usually give them some very, very short introduction of what we want to do, but then we get them to do it within their teamwork. And at the end of it, they hopefully achieve, make or create something. And then we let them to decide if tech is the right career path for them or not. Because my wish is that all our next generation to make an informed decision about what they want to do. So I don't want them to just pursue what other people see that they are capable of doing it. I want them, they believe that they are capable of doing the things that they had an opportunity to try. So this is why that sometimes you have the chance to work with other groups to discover what you are really like and interested in. But sometimes you have to be willing to put yourself in a situation to try new things. And usually magic happens there.
Yeah. Well, and I like what you're describing because it's experiential. It's also practical. So, there's the application that you demonstrate, but it's also very much a social and relational experience as you interact with other people. And I think part of the challenge also in STEM and technology and in fields like cybersecurity is that women have a perception that what they may be doing is not human. It lacks this very significant relational component to it. But, if this global pandemic and crisis that we have all experienced, I think is a great example of how technology can unite us and how it's exceptionally human and can be exceptionally relational. And so I think that that's another piece of this that, women, that's the lack of education, is that we don't really understand, okay, what does this kind of career mean for me? What kind of experiences will I have? Because I don't want to be the person that's just sitting behind a computer and never talks to anyone. Right? So I think that is also a big challenge. And part of what you're talking about is that, it is very relational. The experience of doing what you're doing in C#, the networking, that relationship component of the field is very much alive and exists. Is that fair?
It is definitely. And what you mentioned, sometimes really, it is not an easy situation for some group of people. But what we need to know, as you mentioned, especially right now with the pandemic situation that we'll see all around the world, it is uncomfortable, but we have to getting used to that. And it is really important to getting comfortable with uncomfortable.
Yes.
That is very true. I remember the very first few days of that lockdown, I didn't really know what to do, but now I'm comfortable. It wasn't easy, but you have to accept it. You have to adopt, and you will see over time that you can actually just, feeling comfortable without uncomfortable, and that become a new norm for you, a new normal.
Yeah, no, that's a wonderful point. I feel the same, now it's amazing how adaptable we can be, right?
True.
Last question I wanted to ask, and then certainly, please feel free to share anything else that you would like to. But I did want to ask, is there any counsel or advice that you would give to someone who is thinking about, something as significant as a master's? They want to take the next step, perhaps in a tech field and getting promoted. They are hesitant, man or woman, of course. What are some of the things that you would say to encourage them, especially, in a time like now? There's an incredible demand, but what else?
I think it might sound quite cliche, but you need to believe in yourself, believe you're worth it, and break free of any imposter syndrome that can possibly holding you back. And I can emphasize again on mentor. Mentor will be able to help you here. You're never too old or you're never too experienced to have mentor. So it's really important to find the right person to help you through this, and give yourself the opportunity to learn new things. So things are changing very fast these days, and you have to really catch up with technology. And the future of work, it really depends on us and how we are upskilling ourselves today. 85% of jobs in 2030, they don't exist yet. And getting ready for these type of new skill sets, you can imagine how difficult our job is at university. So we are really trying to train the students for jobs that we don't have any idea. But what we know for sure, that technology impacting our work and the workplace for a big part of it. So we are to make sure that we are upskilling with the right skill sets for future of works.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And if there's anything else that you would like to share, I welcome you to do that. I don't want to just, throw a bunch of questions at you. If there's anything I've overlooked, please feel free.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really enjoyed our talk, and I really hope to visit San Bonaventure and seeing students and working with the students again in future, hopefully after everything settled down here. So I'll just wish them all good health and stay safe, and hopefully we'll see each other on the other side.
Yes, Mahsa, thank you so much again. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.